This is a proven, no-hype, no-nonsense method that gets right to the root of the problem and shows you how to reignite the spark and rekindle your love. For more about Make Up, Don't Break Up, visit AskDrLove.com. And now, back to Dr. Love.
Get it on, get it on. Get it on, get it on, get it on. Get it on, yeah.
You're listening to Ask Dr. Love Radio with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. I'm talking about perfect passion after 50 with Dr. Laurie Betito. So let's talk a little bit about why it's so important to maintain your sexuality into old age.
Well, health-wise, it's so important. You know, I always use the use it or lose it kind of thing. You want to get the blood flowing, right? So keeping active gets the blood flowing, and we know that when you keep the blood flowing, your vagina will produce more estrogen. Your penis will get a workout. Those veins will get a workout, so the arteries will work a little bit better. That helps. Of course, there's so many reasons why we should continue to have sex. All the studies point to benefits. There's only benefits to it. You live longer. You look 7 years younger if you maintain an active sex life. It reduces stress. It makes you happier. People who have regular sex lives are happier. It provides a great workout. I mean, okay, it's not like going to the gym necessarily, but it gives you some cardiovascular workout. So there's so many health benefits to it.
Yeah, where do you sign? It sounds good, right?
Well, that's the thing. It is good. It is good for you. I just, it's unfortunate that we talked a lot about the resentments and the relationship issues. Those really get in the way of maintaining this healthy sexuality, which is so good for us. And then we end up kind of feeling like it's a chore or obligation or guilt or shame and all these negative associations to sex. And that's the sad part.
Really?
We have to kind of do away with all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what about people who have health issues? Oh, by the way, we should say, because people sometimes think, only sex with a partner counts, but no, masturbation will also do the same. It's still going to get the blood flowing and all of that, right?
Right. And and there's lots of things available to help you in that department now.
Like toys. We're talking about, like the Black & Decker, macho women.
Lots of toys for women.
Yeah. Now, what do you tell people to do if they have health issues that are preventing them from having sex?
Well, first of all, let's define sex, right? When you're saying sex, you're talking intercourse right now. When my book describes sex, and like we talk about many, many different aspects of sexuality. You don't need to have intercourse in order to have healthy sex. I know plenty of couples who do not have intercourse but have very active sex lives, right?
Yep.
So there are many ways to have sex, and this is what couples could explore. So a lot of all the touch, anything to do with touch and sensuality, and it doesn't always have to be genitally focused. It doesn't always have to lead to an orgasm. As we get older, the need for orgasm becomes less and less, and I hear that from men as well as women. Orgasms, of course, are wonderful and they're nice, but they're not an absolute necessity. And
because sometimes they're harder to come by.
Absolutely. Or you can still feel great. And it's not even that they're harder to come. I mean, yes, they are as you get older, but you're still having a satisfactory encounter. Just because you don't have the orgasm doesn't mean it's not satisfying to you.
A lot of guys don't even realize that they can actually have an orgasm without an erection.
That's right. I talk about that too. I talk about that.
And they can even have intercourse without an erection.
It has to be, at least solid enough to get in there, but
I had heard, some time ago about a technique called stuffing. You familiar with that one?
I've heard it too, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can stuff it in and keep it there, and that can feel good too, and you have to be willing to explore. Don't give up. I've seen too many people say, "Oh, well, my penis isn't working. I'm just going to give it up," and forget about it. And that I find sad, because they're giving up not just the intercourse. They give up everything else related to intimacy.
I had a guy, Michael Russer, on the show. The show was called Intimacy Without Intercourse, and he had undergone prostate surgery, which rendered him impotent, and he's not an old guy. And he describes his journey back to total intimacy and sensuality and sexuality. And the woman that he is with, his life partner, he actually tried with her. He tried different techniques for inserting things in the urethra to try to get an erection and injections and all this stuff. And finally he just said, look, this is it. I cannot have intercourse. And he describes in great and beautiful detail how they have such amazing sex life with no intercourse. And she, when she began the relationship with him, was so dry, couldn't lubricate, and because they found such intimacy and physical connection, he said that you could bottle how lubricated she is now and how many orgasms she has and how many orgasms he has, and they have so much pleasure together.
Well, if you think back, think back when we were younger and doing other things besides intercourse. Remember when, back in those days, you weren't having intercourse right away. You were fooling around an awful lot. And that excitement of all that other stuff, and if you ask couples who have been together for a long time, ask them how often they make out. It's shocking to hear that so many can't even remember the last time that they had an intimate, deep kiss. Even during sex. During intercourse, it doesn't happen. And that, to me, is another really sad thing. And so sometimes intimate. When I see couples, I will tell them, you're not even allowed to have intercourse. I'm taking that off the table. The next month, you are going to explore all the other ways that you can be sexual and all the other ways that your body can give you pleasure without sticking your penis into that vagina.
Yes. And, it's so funny. I had a couple, maybe 30 years ago, he was getting performance anxiety because, this happens a lot. You get one failed attempt, then you start to worry. Now you're producing the stress chemicals that prevent you from getting subsequent erections. So he literally made himself impotent. So to take his penis off the table, I just said, you're not allowed to have sex at all. You're only allowed to just touch each other everywhere and kiss each other, but you are forbidden from having any kind of intercourse, right? So just from taking it off the table, so he wasn't worried about getting an erection. Of course, he gets an erection.
Of course.
So the them said, screw Jamie,
We work the same way, Jamie, because I've had the same situation over and over again.
There they were yelling at me, screw her, and then they said, we're not, let's screw her. It's so funny.
Yeah, and they were cured all of a sudden, you see?
Yeah, right. So I know you suggest that people should stretch their boundaries. So tell everybody what you mean by that.
Well, stretching boundaries meaning, look, sometimes boredom does set in, right? You've been with somebody for many, many years, and, it's been the same way, the same thing. There's so many other things you can do, and you can stretch your boundaries by talking about things that you might want to try, things that you might have thought of trying, and and sometimes we're talking like light bondage, for example. What if I was blindfolded? What if I tied your hands up? Like getting a bit kinky, or do some of the fantasy and role playing kind of stuff, where let's pretend. I had one couple that did this, which was kind of fun. They would go out, and she would go off to a bar, and then he'd come in, and he'd pretend he'd see her across the room, and he didn't know her, and I think they got this from a movie somewhere. But anyway, and it really worked. Like they would play out this whole scenario and this whole seduction thing, and so you just want to kind of play with it a little. You can play with it in the bedroom. Using fantasy, getting a little bit kinky, using props. Using sex toys. Sex toys aren't just for masturbation. They can be used in the couple, too.
Yeah.
So,